Hello learners, this presentation is for those students who are pursuing MA in education under Indira Gandhi National Open Universities. This is block 1, unit 1 and 2 of MES 12, that is education as an operational aspect of society and education a purposive and continuous process. Myself, Ananta Kumar Nath, lecturer and counselor of IGNOU Study Center in Jorhat P.G.T College of Teacher Education, Assam. Now we are going to discuss about unit number 1, that is education as a social subsystem. Here we have to discuss concept of system, society as a system, education as a social subsystem of society, and functions of education. Now directly go to the point, concept of system. A system is a set of interrelated units. These units include peoples, buildings, animals, beliefs, laws, and so on. The word set implies that the units have common characteristics. Each unit is related to and dependent upon other units within the same system. A change in one unit results in change in other units. If we go to the very short, then system is always more than sum of its parts. You may be familiar with various systems like the social systems, political systems, education systems, etc. etc. A system consists of parts that are interrelated and interdependent. The functions of systems depends on the functions of every part. The system functions towards the attainment of certain goals. The functions of each part may appear different from the goal of the systems. If we try to discuss about the society as a system, then we get that a social system is a set of interrelated social units. Social units include individuals, groups, and organizations. A society can be considered as a system with a set of goals to achieve. Social system is a network of social interaction and you may say social interaction and action of individual organization to carry out one or more essential tasks of the society. The society has interrelated units or parts which functions for the attainment of the goals of society. The different social units are the economic systems, political systems, educational systems, transport systems, etc., which work in interrelated or interdependent manner towards achieving the goal of the society. Student, now we directly go to the point, education is a subsystem of society. Here, education itself is a system. It is an agent for the transference of knowledge as well as socialize of individuals. The units of these systems are the Education Ministry, the Education Board, the School Complex, Teachers Associations, Parents Associations, universities, colleges, national bodies like UGC, IGNOU, NCERT, etc. etc. Education has a well-defined structure and set of rules, and its affect other social systems. You can say education as a system has its goal to achieve. The goals of school, college, teacher association, parents, teacher associations and parents and educational board will be different, so that they have the common goal of imparting quality education. The various units of education system for a network. Now, if we are discuss about the characteristics of education as a social subsystem, then what you get? I mean, if we are discuss about education as a social subsystem, then we get it that education is a powerful agent in building social individualism. It means it develops respect for the social norms as well as values, knowledge and understanding in an individual for making him or her responsible and effective in society. Okay? Now, second point is that if we are going to characterize it as a social subsystem, then we get it that it helps to mold society in the desired direction. It means education helps us to changing our society. Next, another point is education system is emerged as a result of the working and dynamic of different institutions of society. Then another point is that it is studies the interaction system which emerge from the structure and functioning of human groups. It means education always deal with the human groups. Then we may say education system through its experiences enrich the discipline of education and gives new insight for the solution of educational problems. These are the major characteristics of education as a social subsystem. Dear students, now we try to discuss about the major functions of education. Functions of education. Functions of education, it means what are the activities complete by the education. First point is, first functions of education is that education is a mirror that reflects society as it is or to be a stabilizer of the society. It means, in a simple sentence, education reflects the society and stabilizes the society. It is the major functions. Another is education is an agent of social change and force direction towards the implementing the ideas of society. It means education import the idea of society. Another point is that education helps us to assimilate of traditions. It means if you have education, then you can easily assimilate of the various traditions. Okay. Then another point is that development of new social pattern. Another one of the most important function is that the development of new social patterns. Education always develop the new social patterns. And then you may say that another one of the most important functions of education is creative and constructive role. It means education always develop our creativity and constructivity of an individual. Then if you are going to universalize functions of education, then you can say that education transmits culture from one generation to another. It is a universal function. Universalize. It means the education is the way through which one can transform their culture from one generation to another generation. Next, another one of the most important functions of education is it trains people for specialized adult roles. It means education gives us training to doing our duties. It means it gives us intro to doing our tasks regarding our society, regarding our family, etc., etc. Next, another one of the functions of education is it changes the cultural heritage by developing new knowledge. It means education always try to change the cultural heritage by developing new knowledge. Or it means what? All of you know that education is the way through which anyone can change their thinking, their activities, their culture, their so and so on. Okay, it means education helps the people to changing their cultural heritage by developing new knowledge. These are the major functions of education. So, in the first unit, you get these contents. Now, we are trying to discuss about the second unit. Here, the main theme is that education a purposive and continuous process. Education a purposive. Here we are going to discuss about how education is itself is a purposive and continuous process. Now, if we are trying to analyze it, then we get it that education is a purposive in the sense that It is directed towards achievement of some goals or others, directly or indirectly, depending on the different forms of education, that is, formal, non-formal, and informal. The formal and non-formal forms of education are organized either with predetermined aims, goals, or objectives, or at least with some conscious assumptions about those. In case, if informal education, the individual realizes the purpose of an educative experiences as a post hoc effect. Okay, so the issue of the purpose of education is of utmost importance because all other aspects of education like the content, method, discipline, evaluation are interdependent with it. It is the purpose of education which gives the direction to the educative process. What content must be included in the curriculum? What should be the teaching method? How will the students and teachers related with each other? All this stem from how we perceive or explicitly define the purpose of education. It means without the purpose, education is meaningless and less likely to culminate in anything meaningful, like a ship lost its direction in the deep of sea and reached nowhere. So that fulfillment of this purpose, there should be a specific aims. So here we are going to discuss about the aims of education. Generally, you can say that there is a two major aims in education. That is individualistic aims of education and socialistic aims of education. Now, individualistic aims of education. If we are going to discuss about this point, then you can say that from this point of view, it means individualistic point of view, education must cater to the personal developmental need of the individual. Education must be engineered to ensure physical, intellectual, moral, emotional, vocational, and spiritual development of the individual in an integrated manner. It means in this heading or in this particular aims, we have to discuss about physical development of individual, intellectual development of individual, emotional development of individual, moral development of individual, and spiritual development of individual. Individualistic aims of education represent the physical development of individual. Physical development of individual means every individual requires sound physical health in the struggle for existence. It means if you are physically fit, then you are mentally fit. That is why physical development is the first position, then other development, according to individualistic aims of education. Second point is intellectual development. It means intellectual development means many educational thinkers of the past and even of today strongly uphold that if individual develop their intellectuality, then they can adjust any environment. It means intellectually develop helps the man to adjusting the any environment. Next point is emotional development. It is also linked with the individualistic aims of education. It means individualistic aims of education think about the emotional development of an individual. Here, emotions are unique trait of the human organism. There are a whole range of human emotions ranging from positive to negative. Only education changes this one. That is why without emotionally developed, they cannot adjust the situation or environment. Next point is moral development. Moral development means you can say the individual is always expected to possess a good moral character. It is morality that distinguishes man from the animals. Morality is the law of humanity. In the ordinary sense, morality refers to adherence to some ethical standards like those of honesty, truthfulness, justice, etc. True morality has more of a social connection start. It means if you are able to develop our moral thinking, morality, then you can change the society easily. And then last point is that spiritual development. Now, education for culture. One of the major content included in socialistic aims of education. Here, education helps the develop our culture. It means as a whole development of a community, rules and regulation, tradition, etc. If we are able to develop this, then automatically change the human beings to adjusting the new situation. It means through education one can transform the culture, achieving the culture. That is why education must be needed for development of culture. Then last point is education for political transmission. Education for political transmission is also one of the major content included in sociological aims of education. Here you can say that overall political system should be developed through the education only. It means how can we rule over, how can you change the country, develop the country, also depends on education only. For today's, we are discussing all those contents in a very briefly. Thanking you all.